I'm John McQuay with 8541 Tactical, and this is Mail Call Mondays, the show that answers your questions about precision rifles, optics, and equipment. This is going to be a short Mail Call Mondays. I intended to actually get back into the swing of things and answer some questions since we weren't able to get the next segment in the 260 build filmed, but I've had some changes go on here. My shift changed at my regular job, so we're going to have to make this kind of abbreviated this Monday so I can get it filmed, I can get it edited, and get it out to you guys before I have to go do some other things. So what we're going to do is we are going to talk about the Mega Arms MATEN build, how it's been working for us, and what, if anything, that we would change on it. This has been an often requested subject, so it kind of still flows along with the Mail Call Mondays theme. You guys have asked about it, so we're going to go ahead and answer it. Now, first of all, for those of you guys who have not seen the Mega Arms MATEN build series, I highly suggest that you go back and check it out, and we will leave a link down below in the description section. Now, overall, what we have is we have a rifle that is built on the Mega Arms MATEN monolithic platform, and what that is it's a Mega Arms large frame MATEN lower receiver, and it is a one-piece upper receiver and handguard setup. Now, Mega Arms no longer makes this. It has since been replaced by two other models. One is the MKM, which is the Mega Arms key mod system, and the other one is the Mega Arms Megalithic. The Megalithic is their latest, and that was introduced at SHOT Show this year, and we're trying to get a hold of one of those to show you guys what it's all about. But in essence, it is very similar to the monolithic upper receiver, with the exception that the top rail is not one piece, it's not continuous, it is broken by a inset bubble level, which is a really cool design. Well, back to the rifle in front of me though, what we decided to do, the intent when we built this up, is to build something that will work more like a DMR rifle or an LE sniper rifle, something of that nature. We wanted to be able to retain the fast follow-up shots and the rapid engagement capability of a semi-automatic rifle, but still retain enough precision that it can be used for an LE sniper rifle or an intermediate range precision rifle for matches, etc. To that end, Rainier Arms was nice enough to supply us with one of their 16-inch select barrels. Now, this barrel is a stainless steel barrel. It is a 3 landing groove, and it is a 1 and 11 twist. I had to make sure I looked at that. I wanted to say 1 and 11.25, but it is a 1 and 11 twist, which is great for the 175, 178 grain class projectiles, but it will still shoot 168s and down to 155s acceptably well. One of the reasons we really looked at this barrel is that it is 16 inches overall, first of all, and then secondly, it has a thinner profile than a lot of the heavy barrels out there. Really, what we're seeing is with the current crop of high quality barrels, you really don't need to go with a big Mongo thick barrel. It adds a lot of weight to the system, and we wanted to keep this light and compact. Went with the 16-inch barrel because with LE guns, you're very often working in and around vehicles. You're working in close confines. You have to go through urban structures, run through stairwells, that kind of stuff. And a more compact rifle allows you to do that a whole lot easier. It also allows you to set up in a more compact space. I've used a 20-inch barrel rifle to set up inside of a vehicle. A 16-inch works a whole lot better to shoot from inside, for instance, the back of a police car. So that's one of the reasons we kept it this short. With the lighter weight barrel on the front of here, you can actually gunfight with this rifle if you feel necessary. If you're running a different kind of optic on here, or if you run an offset red dot sight, then you can actually use this for close quarter battle type stuff. With the Surefire muzzle brake that we installed, this is a Surefire SOCOM muzzle brake. It tames the recoil down quite a bit, and we're able to keep it on target while we're shooting, so it really works very well. Coming back from that, and you can't see it buried inside here, we have an SLR Industries gas block, which allows us to tune down the gas in the operating system of the rifle, so we can tune it for the load that we are working with, and we don't have the tendency of these rifles to be a little bit overgassed and to really beat the rifle around when that operating assembly is moving. The bolt carrier group in these rifles is very large. It has a lot of weight, so when that bolt carrier group is sliding around, it is really slapping things back and forth. So being able to tune the gas system down and move that bolt carrier group with only as much force as necessary in order to cycle the weapon really aids in helping to keep it on target. And even with the high magnification scopes that we've been running on this, we can easily spot our own impacts when shooting this rifle. So the combination of the Surefire brake and the SLR Industries gas block has helped us alleviate some of the disadvantage of running a lighter weight barrel and a lighter weight system overall. As we come back, we have an Atlas version 8.1 bipod on here, which is great. It's a very versatile bipod. You can run it in a whole bunch of different situations, which again aids to the law enforcement type role where you don't know what you're going to encounter, what kind of things you're going to have to rest your rifle on, and you really have a ton of options with the Atlas version 8.1. It also is a QD throw lever on here. They actually use an American Defense throw lever, so it's really easy to kick that ADM throw lever to the side and drop the bipod off if you need to get rid of it. The Mega Arms upper has flush cups built in to the forend up here, so we can attach a sling to it very easily, and we're able to use a sling like the Magpul MS4 to great effect with this rifle. It's a very quick adjustable sling, and we have been using the MS4 on this rifle and on a couple of our other flush cup equipped rifles, and it works well as a precision rifle sling or as a close quarter battle sling depending upon how you configure it. Now as we come back a little bit further, we have battle arms development levers on here. We have the long lever on the left side of the rifle and the short lever on the right side. That way, when the levers are in the fire position, they don't interfere with the trigger finger. You're not brushing the lever with your trigger finger, but we still have the ability to switch over on support side and engage that lever with my support side thumb should I need to do so. The trigger that we're using in here is a Geissele SSAE. That is the non-adjustable two-stage trigger, and the non-adjustable really works better for a law enforcement / DMR type rifle because you have no adjustments that you have to get in there and tinker with. You have nothing to back out, nothing to fail on it. You take it out of the package, you drop it in, you push pins through, and you're good to go. So as long as you are an AR armorer, then you don't have to worry about any other legal requirements that come attached to trying to adjust a trigger and keep it functioning properly. So we have that. And one thing to point out on the Mega Arms MATENs is they are ambidextrous. So we have a right side bolt release here, which is really great when you are working in the prone position and you have your support side working to support you. It's nice to be able to drop that bolt should you need to with the right hand side. It also works great if you're in a prone position and you're doing workups or something with the rifle and you want a single load. Then you can keep your support hand down here, you can pick up your cartridges, drop them in the ejection port, and close the bolt without breaking your position. So again, really nice. We come up here to the top. The charging handle that we are running is a BCM Gunfighter charging handle, and it has an extended release on the left hand side. It's worked. We'll get back to that when we talk about things that we would change on the rifle here in a minute. Coming back, we have the Magpul PRS Buttstock on here, which allows us adjustability for our comb and for our length of pull. Down here on the bottom, we have an Ergo Tactical Deluxe pistol grip. And then on the sides, and you can only see one on this side, there are two on this side. We have Cascadia Armament Designs footman's loops that have built-in QD cups, so we can attach our sling to either side and run it just fine. We don't have to actually loop it through the footman loops. Now overall, the rifle has worked very well for us, but there are a couple of things that we could change. based upon what our specific role is for the rifle. Now, most of the time we've had this rifle, we have been running an SWFA SS 5 to 20 power rifle scope on it. This scope has worked really well for us. It's easy to work with. We did a full review of the scope, which again, I'll leave that down in the description below. And so you can go back and read about the full review on the scope. We have it attached here with an SWFA branded Bobro QD mount, which again has worked very well. We've had perfect return to zero with it. And with this scope, it actually is great because I can pop it off. I can put a different optic on here, and then coming back, I can snap this one right back on and be right back to my zero and not have to tinker around with anything. We were, for the Woody's DMR, or the DMM match down in North Carolina, I was running the Night Force Beast on here in a regular Night Force mount. So going back to this scope was just a simple matter of taking the Beast off, dropping this back on to the same T-slot, pushing it forward, locking it down, and we're good to go. And actually with the Bobro mount, you really don't have to push it forward. Due to the way the lug is made in the bottom of it, it has kind of a spring action to it. So when you drop it down, it locks in. I still tend to load them forward, so that's why I say I push forward whenever I lock them down. So that has worked very well for us. But if you were going to use this rifle in its role as a DMR rifle or an LE sniper rifle, then what I would suggest would really be something more along the lines of this Bushnell scope here. This is the SMRS. And what it allows you to do is have a scope that at 8.5 power magnification and illumination, you can use it as a precision rifle scope to engage most any targets that you would encounter in an LE environment. If you need to, you can back it down to a true 1 power and run it like a 1 power dot sight if you need to move into a situation, or if you got a situation where a target's gone mobile and you think you may turn a corner and encounter a suspect, then having this down on 1 power actually allows you to gunfight with the rifle instead of just being stuck with a high magnification optic. We still have not gotten through the full review on this Bushnell 1 to 8.5 power scope yet. It is an excellent optic though, and hopefully we will be getting the full review out to you soon. It's got locking turrets, so when you lock everything down, works just like a variable magnification dot sight. When you crank it up, you've got a mil reticle in here, and you have the ability to dial mils on your windage and elevation turret. So really nice scope overall. So if you were going to use it in a DMR type situation, then this or another variable magnification scope that goes down to a true 1 power would be my suggestion. Even a 1 to 6 will work well in a law enforcement role, because really the only reason that you would need to run super high magnification is to identify an object in a target's hand. And that's really a good job for a spotter, to have your spotter communicate to you to what he sees. You really need to keep a larger situational awareness, and a lower magnification scope will allow you to keep that wide situational awareness when you're on the rifle. Now, assuming that you weren't using this in an LE role, you're using it more of a regular all-purpose precision rifle type role, then the first thing that I would change on this rifle is, instead of going with a 16-inch barrel, I would go with a 20-inch barrel. The 16-inch barrel, we do sacrifice a considerable amount of velocity. Just to give you a general idea, shooting an M118 LR spec ammo, in this case we were shooting Southwest Ammo's SW118 LR, that ammo out of this barrel chronographs at about 2350, so about 2,350 foot per second, whereas that same ammunition in a 20-inch barrel is around the 2,500 foot per second mark, sometimes into the 26, depending upon the barrel. So you do lose a considerable amount of velocity coming back to a 16-inch barrel. The advantage of the 16, again, is you get less weight, you get a more compact package, but when you're shooting matches, when you're just shooting on the range, you don't really need the compact length, and an extra 4 inches of barrel is really not going to hurt you, especially if you decide to go with a different shorter muzzle device, which if we were going to go that route, then I would probably use the AAC single chamber brake that we've been using on a lot of our other 308s to great effect. It's a very effective brake, and it's a very short brake. The Surefire, I think, is probably a little bit more effective in reducing recoil, but it does add just some extra length to it. So that's something to bear in mind. I would still go with the Rainier Arms Select barrel. In this case, this barrel has given us just a shade under minute angle accuracy with the Southwest ammo. There are some days that it will impress us, and some days that it's just slightly under minute angle, and I think part of that may have to do with the fouling in the rifle. But when it's clean and when it's running well, it's just under minute angle accuracy. The nice thing about the Rainier Arms Select barrels is they are really a no drawback to purchasing them. If you purchase one of the Select barrels from Rainier Arms, they come with a satisfaction guarantee. So if you install it on your rifle and shoot it, I believe it's 90 days that you have to evaluate it, and then you can send it back to Rainier and do an exchange or get your money back if you don't like the performance of the barrel. Now, don't quote me on the 90 days. Make sure you go check Rainier Arms site, because it's their policy. It is subject to change, so I don't want you to spend money and then find out that that wasn't correct. Make sure you check that before you purchase one of these barrels if your intent is to be able to return it later on. But if minute angle somewhere in there is not what you want, if you want a whole lot higher degree of accuracy, then you can pony up some more cash and you can go with one of Rainier Arms match or ultra match barrels, and they work very well in this setup. They headspace very well. They use, at least the Select barrels, use a modified 7.62 chamber. It's more like a 7.62 match. When we headspace this barrel with the DPMS bolt that we're using in here, we found that it headspaces on the tight side of 7.62 and it's on the loose side of 308. So it should run a very wide range of ammo, even surplus ammo. But if you really get some crazy ammo, you may have some problems chambering it. It will run any 308 ammo that you come across. So as long as the ammo is SAMI 308 spec, it will run through the rifle. But you can run 7.62 with no problem at all. So keep that in mind. The Rainier Arms Select barrels will run both 7.62 and 308. Now, the DPMS bolt carrier group that we used in here has worked just fine. When I compare the DPMS bolt carrier group to an Armalite bolt carrier group, the Armalite bolt carrier groups are a little bit higher quality. I think if we did this again, we might have used an Armalite bolt carrier group, but the availability was nil at the time that we built the system, so we went with the DPMS bolt carrier group. They tend to be a little bit more available. Now, the system is quoted as being a DPMS spec system. I believe the Rainier barrels are quoted as being DPMS spec barrels. And what that means is they take DPMS's tolerance window into account when they cut the chambers for the barrels. If you go with Armalite, you may be on one side or the other because they may not have taken Armalite's window of tolerances, which may be different from DPMS's, into account. That will be something on your end. If you decide to get it, you definitely need to check the headspace when you assemble it. And again, watch our MATEN build series and we talk about how to check the headspace in the rifle when you assemble it. But I do think the Armalite bolt carrier groups are higher quality. The DPMS, though, do work just fine, and you may be able to find them a little bit more often. The Battle Arms development levers work great. The Falcon Ergo Tactical Deluxe grip down here, I absolutely love this grip. I use it on pretty much anything that I have a precision AR type system and it needs a grip. I'll go with the Falcon Ergo Tactical Deluxe grips. Really messed up name, a really great grip. It's got a nice palm swell on here. The finger grooves are not overly pronounced, so I can really put my fingers wherever I need to put them. And it's got the nice duck bill here to keep your hand kind of low and lined up with the trigger. So that's good to go. Coming up here to the charging handle though, the BCM Gunfighter charging handle has worked okay, but what we have found out is that when you're running fast, if you're not wearing gloves and you grab the top of it, it does have a tendency to pinch your finger right through here because your meat from your finger will squeeze down between the lever and the charging handle body, and you'll pinch it when you go back. You can still get the job done, and in fact, if you use a flat hand facing towards you to hook it, it actually works a little bit better. Drawbacks to this charging handle though is it is not ambidextrous, so you do not have anything on the right hand side. So if you have a situation where the rifle failed to pick up a round and you're in a supported position, you have to come up, you have to break your cheek off, you have to run the charging handle with your support hand and then come back down and get back on the gun. With ambidextrous charging handles, you really don't have that problem. You can stay in position. All you have to do is rock your cheek to the side as you rip it and get back down there and crank a round off. So I prefer ambidextrous charging handles. When we built this rifle, the Raptor charging handle was not available for the 308 size rifles. It is now available for the 308 size rifles, and I absolutely love the Raptor charging handle on 5.56 rifles. So I would definitely get a Raptor charging handle for this, and we may in the future switch this over to the Raptor charging handle just because it's a more streamlined design, it's more elegant, it works great on either side. It's one of the best ambidextrous charging handles I've ever seen for the AR type rifle systems. Coming further back, the buttstock here, we really didn't need the PRS buttstock. The comb is still cranked up right now from when I had the Beast on here because the Night Force mounting system seems to bring the scope up a little higher than the Bobro. So we were running the cheek piece almost all the way down. We were also running the length of pull in because on these kind of systems, especially with the monolithic top rail, you can adjust your eye relief with the scope, and we're not so much worried about the actual length of pull for trigger pull purposes. Standard A2 is just fine for this kind of system. If I did this again, I think I would go ahead and use one of the Magpul Mo rifle buttstocks. It'll save us some weight, it'll save us some money because we don't need the comb or the buttstock length of pull adjustment, and the Mo buttstocks come already set up to be able to put flush cups in them, so we don't need to go with the Cascadia Armament Designs adapters, which actually I don't believe are produced anymore. There's another company that produces a similar product, but since we haven't had a chance to actually evaluate that, I'm hesitant to mention it. But if you go on Brownells, you can find this other company's product on there if you really need QD mounting points for your PRS stock. Now, if I was going to use this rifle in a DMR or an LE sniper capacity where there's a good chance you're going to be wearing body armor or some other kind of kit, then I would go with the UBR buttstock, the Magpul UBR, because that will allow you to shorten up the length of pull considerably. It'll still give you some weight to balance the rifle out because we do have a lot of aluminum hanging out front here, so we want to get some balance to the rifle. If you have to shoot it in some ungainly positions, then that little bit of weight out back really helps to hold the rifle steady. So that is definitely an option, although you lose the comb height, so depending upon your optics system, you need to keep that in mind. It's difficult to build up any kind of cheek riser or anything on the Magpul UBR, so another thing to keep in mind. You can, of course, go with something quick and lighter like a CTR or a one of the other Magpul collapsible buttstocks, and then run something like a Sapper cheek plate up here or some other kind of cheek riser. That is an option, but I think on this rifle that might take a little bit too much weight off of the rear end. But it's going to be a lot of personal preference there. The trigger worked excellent on this rifle. It's a little bit heavier trigger pull than I want on a match rifle, but it is the perfect pull weight, I think, for a DMR or for a working rifle. It's enough that when you're amped up on adrenaline, you're not going to have an ND. You're not going to let that rifle rip when you shouldn't. Now, of course, you shouldn't have your finger on the trigger until the sights are aligned on a target and you're ready to fire. But again, you would want to let that trip a little earlier than you need to. And with the SSAE, the Geissele SSAE trigger, it is a 2-stage, so you have that take up, so you know you're pressing on the trigger, and then you have the brake after the take up, which again is enough weight that you have to make a conscious effort to fire the rifle. You're not going to accidentally go, and you're not going to have to worry about a semi-automatic rifle doubling on you. So the Geissele SSAE is a great option for a designated marksman or even a working patrol rifle. Really good trigger. I really like it. As we mentioned, the Magpul MS4 sling that I don't have on here right now because it's over on the Whiskey 3 chassis. That has worked very well for this rifle. I love the fact that I can have that sling. It's kind of expensive at 50 bucks, but that's about the average for a precision rifle sling. It's nice because I can just pull it off of whatever rifle. I can snap it on another one. Here lately, I've just been leaving it looped over the door of the safe. That way I can grab it whenever I grab any other rifle out and snap it on really quick. So those are great slings if you have flush cup equipped rifles because you can swap between them. We have the original MS4. The new Gen 2 MS4 has some improvements that make it a really great sling. They got rid of the loop and went to a flatter piece of hardware. That way if you go and use it as a hasty sling, you don't have to worry about that loop ending up in your armpit and being very distracting when you're trying to take a precise shot. So overall, the Mega Arms MATEN build was a great success. It filled the need of what we intended it to be. We didn't intend it to be a match-winning precision rifle. We intended it to be a quick-handling, easy-to-deploy LE/DMR rifle. Now, we have talked to Mega Arms about getting one of the new megalithic receiver sets and doing a precision 260 build that's actually going to be a semi-automatic precision rifle to be able to really use to full effect in events like the Woody's Designated Marksman Match Series or some of the PRS type matches. And if we're able to get that going and get that through, then we will definitely keep you guys informed. If you want to see that, make sure you send Mega Arms email and let them know that you appreciate their support of this build series and you would really like to see what we can do with one of their new megalithic receiver sets. That's about it for the Mega Arms MATEN. I'm sorry I don't have any test targets to show you, but I didn't go out and actually shoot a test specifically for this video, and I've got scores of shot up targets laying around here that I've been trying to clean out. So I don't specifically have one to throw up here for you. You're just gonna have to take my word on what the accuracy of the system is. That's about it. Again, sorry this is kind of a short episode. If you got any questions or comments, leave them in the comments section below or send them to us on Facebook or Twitter. If you like this episode, please make sure you like, share, and subscribe. And until next time, no matter if it's with a Mega Arms MATEN or whatever you got at home, get out and shoot.